All right, welcome. So I'm going to make the same joke about the Nats everybody else made, so laugh it up now. No, I'm actually Sanjay Sardar. I'm with SAIC. We are a Gigabyte sponsor here, and I'll tell you, this was one of the exciting ones. When we signed up for our sponsorships, this is one we wanted, because I agree with Dave. This is an exciting time. With the advent of RPA and all the things that are going on, SAIC, we're happy to work with our government counterparts to get this moving. I'm actually excited in a different way than Dave is, because at this point with RPA, from what I understand, I should be able to retire soon, right? I'm done. There's nothing, no. For me, I get the pleasure and the honor of introducing GerardBadorrek. So Gerard is the CFO of Performance and Improvements Officer for the GSA, General Services Administration. He oversees $25 billion in budget, as well as the agency's strategic planning and performance management analytics, accounting, reporting, and financial operations and audits. With the newly established robotics division at GSA, so OCFO, Gerard is driving the implementation of robotics process automation across GSA and its executive sponsor for the government-wide RPA community of practice. He has 25 years of private sector experience, including CFO and COO roles with technology companies. He has an MBA from the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University and a master's degree from economics from Case Western. And a bachelor's degree in engineering from Cornell. Gerard, holy cow. There's like a lot of things going on. Please join me in welcoming our opening keynote speaker, GerardBadorrek, Chief Financial Officer at General Services Administration and Executive Sponsor of the RPA Community of Interest.
Good. Thanks, Sanjay. Good. All right, here we go. So thank you all for getting here at 8:15, and I guess I understand that Todd and Ed, you set up the start time at 8:15 for all of us this morning, so we have you to thank for that. The good news is the Nats won last night. I was, after 6 innings and 1 walk and 1 hit, I was hoping they would come back, and they certainly did. So it's exciting to be here. And after a World Series victory, World Series championship. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the where I think we are in the federal government on RPA. Also talk about some private sector concepts that you can apply to RPA. And I read something last week, a Forrester analyst talked about commercial private sector RPA and said that 50% of the RPA clients had 10 or less bots. So pretty interesting, right? But it takes some real work to get this going. And I, sometimes we like to say, well, we can't go as fast as the private sector. I think we go faster. So that should be our goal, right? To go faster than the private sector. And I've talked to a few private sector companies too, and I really think we can do that in the federal government. And the federal RPA community of practice, so I'm hoping that's going to be like the Nats, right? That's a team, and I'm going to share the members of that team, but it's a team across agencies that are working to solve some of the problems and challenges in RPA. And all these folks are volunteering, doing this on their own, and I'll talk a little more about that, but it's turning out to be a terrific team, and I think there's a lot that we will be able to do to help federal government. Hold on a second. All right. Okay, so Carol, this wasn't the latest one I sent you. I don't know if you have it or not, but I let me just start with how we understand where we are at RPA, because there's a lot of marketing going on, and we all, there are videos at RPA, so as soon as someone learns about RPA, they talk about the benefits, they say, here's what we can do, they want to get excited about it. So marketing for RPA is outstanding, but we really have to think about is what are the results. And here's how I think about how I would define where we are in federal government. So starting with results, it's automations deployed. How many do you have? How much capacity are you generating? What are you able to free up? Do you have a pipeline of opportunities? So in addition to what you've put into production, how many do you have that you're working on? And then there are other benefits to RPA outside of just capacity. and what are they? And there's some reasons you may do bot implementations that have very little capacity free up, but help you in other ways. So look at the results. I also like to step back and look at the programs. So the first question is does your program have process assessment and improvement responsibilities? Before we automate something with RPA, you step back and look at the process and try to optimize it. So it's a huge opportunity. Are you an enterprise services provider? So are you providing RPA across different functions in your agency? Because as a CFO, it's easy for me to get focused in the finance organization for RPA. But when I go to HR and other functions, they will be excited about it, but getting it done is a challenge, and I'll talk a little more about that. Because everybody's excited, but how you cross the finish line is really what it's about. And then intelligent automation. Are you making progress in that direction? And then what's your overall model? Do you have formal ATO, IT security, and privacy policies? And do you have an overall platform for unattended bots? So these are the characteristics, some of the characteristics that I would look for. So when you look at these characteristics and say, okay, where do we think we are in federal government? You see that startup programs, we probably have roughly around 25 agencies. And this all is very rough information, but we have 25 in level 1. Level 1 is 5 bots or less. And you have a pilot, you've got a few applications there, you may have a video, but you're a startup program. And we want agencies to evolve out of that startup phase. We have probably 5 to 10 in level 2. So that's 20 or less bots, more than 5. You've got some capacity you've freed up, and you have security, ATO, privacy policies. So you're making progress. You're at the stage, you're an emerging RPA program. Impactful's level 3. So you've got a nice set of bots that are in production. You actually have hours of capacity, a significant number, 50,000 or more, that you've freed up. And you've got good ATO and security policies, and you have process improvement, and you've got a pipeline. So level 4 I think is what we're all striving to. It's, you're able to complete 10 bots a month. You've got a lot of capacity created. You've got a good model for doing this across the agency. You're doing some things in intelligent automation. And you've got an enterprise platform. So these are the results. So 25 agencies, probably in that level 1 startup phase, 5 or less bots. And that's a question to ask folks. How many do you have in production? What are the hours of capacity? Are you doing them across the agency? And there are different approaches, and I'll talk about that. So we'll see where we are at the end of this year. But right now, this is how I characterize where agencies are. So now, some of the private sector concepts. So this is interesting. On the right is a sales funnel. So we have some industry folks here. So you know what that's about, right? You're out trying to generate leads, and you're trying to close the deal. So what you're going to find out is to accelerate RPA in your agency, it's very much like a sales process. You've got to work with other organizations, help them understand RPA. You've got to market it, which we can do well, but then you've got to go in and identify those opportunities. And you've got to sell them on supporting and implementing the opportunity. So you have to do a process assessment. At GSA, we actually have our clients or other parts of the agency sign a piece of paper. It says, this is the process assessment, right? We want to go do this. And then we prioritize it, but it's very much like the sales process in the private sector. And then when you sign it, that does not mean you've got the RPA application implemented. It means you've got the go-ahead to go do it. And we all agree, so let's go get it done. So if you think about how we're going to make this really grow in federal government, it's really a sales process and building the pipeline of opportunities and closing the deal, right? So a little bit different thinking, but very much like what the private sector has to do. So if you're closing deals, then you have to think about, do I have a factory in place to deliver what I signed up for? So you got to build the factory, and you got to think about things like the capacity of the factory, right? So when you build a factory, you want to make sure you have the things you need to deliver the product, but you also think about, do I have too little capacity or too much capacity? So at GSA, we started everything with part-time folks. And because I was very uncertain about the demand, the velocity, we were didn't know how much capacity I needed. We figured that out now. But when you think about this, you got to agencies have to think about where that factory is in the agency and how many people it is and what the skills are. But you got to go build the factory, and part of the factory is process improvement. It's just not development or operations. It's when you sign that piece of paper, you're going back and taking a look at the process and seeing how you can make it better. So this is the factory. So then you put it all together, and you've got the sales and marketing piece feeding into the factory. And the green boxes are probably some of the key positions that you need. So the sales folks I'm calling RPA evangelists, right? They're out there pitching RPA and closing deals and things like that. But within the factory, you need process experts. So what we found is we've taken some Six Sigma talent from a continuous process improvement group and said, hey, you're the type of person that would really be able to help us both document and improve processes. The business experts are those employees that are part of the function you want to develop the application for. And the functional coordinator is someone that's in the function. So if it's mission assurance, if it is a business unit, in our case, public building services, it's important to have a functional coordinator that helps move things along, because you're going to different experts to understand their process, and they've got full-time jobs. So you need that functional champion coordinator to move things along, and the business experts have the process expertise. And finally, the bot development team. So actually, the coding takes some time to learn, but that is not the big challenge. The big challenge is working with the organizations to document their processes so that you can go implement these bots. Because the software is out there, you can learn that. But this bot development team has to do more than just do coding. They have to help document the process. So really, these are some of the pieces that are critical to having that integrated sales process and factory to deliver bots. So the investment approach. So one of the things, that it can vary by agency, but this is what we have done at GSA, and it was really try to get through those first two stages, introduction and development, as quickly as possible. This is where you do that pilot, first couple of applications, and you build your expertise, and you think about how much capacity you need. So and you don't say, okay, well, without knowing much about RPA, say, okay, this is I got to invest $3 million to go do all these things, right? So we actually said, let's go figure out what it takes to make progress. So this was our approach. And depending on the agency, that may not be the right approach. So in other agencies, you might say, okay, we want to build that rock solid platform right away. We want to do training and set up a PMO. So there are different approaches. But the goal is for all of us to get to that stage 3, which is where you're going after home run projects. And the benefits clearly are outweighing the costs on your automations. And if you're able to do this, what's going to happen is the cost per bot is going to be much less than, or the value you're getting out of each bot is going to be much more than the cost. The first bot you build, the second bot you build, that's going to cost you a lot, and you're not going to get back that in benefit, right? You're starting up the program, but you want to get to that stage where the incremental cost of building a bot is much less than the value you're bringing in. So, and I'm not big on ROI calculations, because there's a lot of startup costs you can put in this, but you have to make sure that what it takes for you to build bots is much less than the value. So the employee impact is very, very important, and I think one thing that you have to realize is that RPA is automating tasks. It's not automating an entire job. So if you think about federal government, we hire employees at a certain level. We tell them the job is exciting. You've got analytical work to do, things you have to think about. But when they actually do the job, there's a lot of real basic things they have to do in just getting data out of systems and menial work that where they could probably be doing higher value work. So RPA is eliminating the need to do that and automating that. So it's not taking away my job, but it may be taking away 20% of my job or 10% of my job or 5% that I really don't look forward to doing and automates it. So I really think RPA can improve the quality of life of employees, and that's what we've that's what we've seen. We have individuals that are in the CFO organization, other organizations that say, hey, can you build a bot for us, right? I want to go do this or that. And my challenge has been to make sure there's enough benefit associated with the effort for that bot, right? Because there are a bunch of smaller things you can do, but if you want to be in that home run stage, you got to think about more significant things you can do. And then the employee-driven transformation. So if the employees are part of this, if they're part of selecting processes, I think we're able to train a dozen folks in RPA development. There's a level of excitement about what this is about. And if that's the way RPA is rolled out, and the employees are part of that, they'll be excited about it, right? So it's not something that's happening to them, it's something they're part of. And we've been fortunate in that we've have a lot of excitement about that. So the program characteristics, so the process assessment capabilities and pipelines important, evolving the structure over time, right? So understand how to do this and how much to invest, because if I thought about it, we could have taken a long time to think about things, how to do this and governance and all of these things. And my approach was, well, I want to try to get something in production in 100 days and just understand what it takes to do this. So we've had some velocity. We've done it with part-time folks up until about June, and it's been, and we've learned about it. So now we're able to evolve the structure. Identify and manage risk. So we're very careful about any bots that if there was a problem, it would potentially stall or shut down the program. So you're careful about what bots you do right out of the start, so you really know what you're doing. And this is, I get back to in the private sector, if you have a new product, you want to launch it, you have to think about how much confidence you have in that product, what you want to do, but you roll the product out in a way that lets you gauge the level of interest. So if you're not sure if it's going to be a $100 million product, then you might say, okay, let's roll it out with this level of investment, learn about it, see what the marketing appeal is. But in the private sector, you try to do that pretty quickly. You do that in months, right? And really, that's been the approach with RPA for us. Let's try to understand what it takes to cross the finish line and what we need to do. So I think we've been able to figure that out. So this federal community practice, pretty excited about that, right? It's just a tremendous, lots of enthusiasm about RPA, and what we're really trying to do is to solve some of the challenges that all agencies have. So if you get back to a private sector organization, you wouldn't let every employee or every business unit solve problems on their own. And really, you should think about federal government as an overall business unit or overall corporation. So we have this problem. What are the how do we solve some of these challenges and obstacles with our RPA? And certainly, different agencies may have different characteristics they have to think about when they think about conquering these obstacles. But we need to work together to be able to do that and come up with the solutions. The good news, and I'll show you in a minute, is we have some agencies and we have leaders that are ahead of other agencies in thinking through this. So we're bringing all of them together and saying, okay, what are the options, what are the solutions, and how can we bring the other agencies along? So the two goals that I've talked about a little bit already is solving these challenges, and then helping other agencies that are different parts, a different point of the learning curve, develop RPA. So the numbers are impressive, 50 agencies, 600 members, right? But some of them are going to be in the problem-solving piece, and others are going to be in the learning piece. So we're thinking about how we can structure the things we're doing to address both of these. These are the 11 or so practice areas we've identified. We actually have a government leader for each of these. And they're in the management, technology, and operations areas. And this gets back to some of the problems. Some are more complex than others. But we all, if you just take that first one, process selection use cases, we all have to educate other parts of the agency on RPA and help select good use cases. Well, everybody has their own way of doing that, and we've gotten, we're able to share that at agencies. We're sharing the approach at DoD and Army with the approach at GSA, and we're all learning from each other. So the goal is to do that across all these areas. So you can't see this that well, but these are the agencies and the folks that are involved. So some of you are in this room, so thank you very much. But these are the practice leaders and the leadership on this federal RPA community of practice. CC NASA, OPM, DHS, DoD, Army, Treasury. So these are the leaders in federal government that are helping us address RPA. And we're bringing more leaders to the table too. So it's growing. But we're going to solve the problems, and we're also going to help educate educate other agencies. So I talked about some of the problems, technology standards, functional workshops. So we actually had a webinar last week that was process selection. Tomorrow we've got a workshop where we've invited 2 to 3 people per agency, and it's going to be a workshop that where they can come in and understand applications in the finance area. So then agencies that want to come learn can learn from other agencies that have implemented finance applications. And I think we've got Treasury, DoD, NSF, and GSA presenting there. So really a learning experience. And this is a workshop, so it's not a session like this. We're dividing into groups of maybe 20 folks, and you can really ask questions. But we really want agencies to learn from what we've already done across federal government. The playbook, so we've had all the practice leaders work on a playbook. We're refining that. By the end of this quarter, we'll have the RPA playbook out that's a result of the community of practice. Use case inventory, we're putting together a list of all the use cases in federal government. So the functional workshops, we want to do the same thing for HR, same thing for acquisition, right? Bring the folks together that can talk about HR, RPA applications that they've implemented, and have other agencies come hear about it. So solving the problems and educating across government are a couple goals that I think will make a difference. And I think, for those of you that are outside of government, certainly you want to see progress and you want to see a lot of work on this. And it goes back to my initial comment about what we want to get results. So here's what I think we can do. So I think there's $1 to $2 billion of capacity that we can free up just in the civilian side of federal government. And the $1 billion you get there by an average of 9-10 hours per employee. Not a whole lot, right? But 2 million civilian employees. If you can do 10 hours, that's $1 billion for capacity on average. One of the agencies, we're at probably 5 to 6 hours already. So if everybody else can catch up to that and get to 10, it's $1 billion. If we can get to 20, 15 or 20, it's $2 billion. So that's the kind of potential RPA has. I don't want to forget about the other benefits. So the other benefits are quality, compliance, throughput, new services, experience analytics. All of that is there, and you're gonna do some bots that don't have much benefit in terms of capacity, but have a lot of benefit in these other areas. So that's so I don't want to forget about that. It's harder to measure those, so we've got the capacity out there as a goal, but certainly have to track the others. So if you really think about, and this is my last slide, if you really think about this year, enthusiasm, I would give us a 10 out of 10, right? We're all excited about RPA. Some agencies have videos. We want to talk about what it can do. But what are the results going to be? And where are we going to be at the end of this year? And how many agencies can we get moved to level 3? So I'm very excited about the potential. We want to accelerate this across the federal government. The team of leaders and members of the CLP is unbelievable, and they're committing their time. And I know some of you are here, and thank you for that. But committing their time to make this work and help other agencies. And it's really an example of federal government working together across agencies to deliver something that's very, very positive. So that's it. I think I got a couple minutes for questions, but thank you. Yes? Well, I actually got a few that are a couple better. There were a couple other slides that I had here, but I think we'll ask Todd or Ed, but I think we can, I think they're available. Is that correct, Todd? Yeah, okay. Right, yes.
So security-wise, what are some of the key things that you cleared at GSA that now you're able to not be in a pilot state, but you're in a production state?
Yeah, so we're all learning in the security front, right? So I am not going to get into too many specifics, but I'll just tell you that when we worked with our IT organization, privacy and some of the areas, we had a set of questions. We show them a video of the bot. So we do a pretty thorough review, and there was some back and forth with the IT organization to resolve this, but we go through a process that on a bot-by-bot basis allows them to come in and sign off before we move ahead with a bot. They actually are able to come in and say this makes sense, because they might be enhancing a system or doing something else we don't know about, right? So they have to sign off at the beginning, and then once we test it before it goes into production, they have a sign off as well. And there's a list of standard questions and information we give them. And my perspective was I wanted to get things done. And as we all get more comfortable, we may modify that some. But it's been interesting to, as part of the playbook, to look across agencies and how they're handling that. So, yes.
So in your list of roles that you have
Right.
on one slide, do you have in the list of roles, do you have an opinion about which roles are to be held by government versus contractor? Or, as a mix?
Yeah, good question. I want to get things done, so in some cases it's a combination of the two. So I think if I think back to what was on that slide, like the development, we have internal development capacity, we have external as well. So certainly we supplement the factory with the development piece. The sales and marketing, I'm actually doing that with a combination as well. Because what's interesting is if you have when we've gone to some of the functions and talked about RPA and let them go off and come back with their ideas, they might say they don't have any. But if you have someone that is already working within your agency that understands that function and what they do, they'll come up with 3 good ideas in 15 minutes. So I think it's a combination. I don't think certainly there's expertise on the industry side and RPA that you need to take advantage of, because you've got to come up the curve. But there's some advantages to having some government employees that understand other organizations and the processes. Another interesting thing is we've the couple-week training that you can take just to learn the coding and how RPA works. We've had some individuals take that just to understand what RPA is about, but not so much to do the coding. But then when they start thinking about all these applications that could be RPA automations once they do that. So I don't have any strict rules. I want to get results, and it's a combination of government and industry. Yeah, Sanjay.
Yeah, so I actually love the idea of the commercial, like the sales generation process, the factory process. And you mentioned the fact that RPA is about automating tasks, not jobs, right? But there still is there's a little bit of a fear across the federal government about that, losing jobs, losing their functionality. How much of that evangelism time did you put into what is RPA versus what is the change management effort versus everything else?
Yeah, in the CFO organization right away, we showed folks what RPA could do and had them think about some applications. And so they saw right away that this was not going to eliminate their whole job. So you can assure employees that it's not going to happen, but when they actually look at what you want to do, and it's part of the employee-based transformation, and they can come up with some of the use cases, all of a sudden they see what this is about. We actually had the first bot we implemented was around, we do a lot of transactions with agencies that reject or have some kind of issue with them. And we would only update that report because it was a manual report and it was a bunch of systems once a month. And we had people working to resolve all these discrepancies. And the person that had to do that didn't like doing it. It was 3 weeks of their time. We now have automated that. We can produce it every day. So real-time basis, we know what's been fixed, what's been rejected. Before, it was being updated once or twice a month. So the person that was doing the job that got automated, right, he was very, very excited to see that happen, and that person now is doing higher level work. So it can be a win for employees if it's managed and handled the right way, and I think the task versus jobs is very important, and I can talk about that, but if they're actually part of picking the processes and learning what RPA does and seeing it, employee-based transformation, then they'll get it. Yeah. Yes.
Hi. So GSA is put together this platform for people that want to use the version version technology, data.gov. Might we see a bots.gov?
Interesting. We're trying to do that with the COP. Today, GSA is talking about a community of practice for artificial intelligence, and I think that's and it's not restricted to bots, but the area around artificial intelligence and RPA is being added to the list. So.
Hi, I had a question. We're shifting costs then from the employees who are doing this low value work to employees who are then creating the bots and maintaining the bots and making sure that all this infrastructure is still running. Has there been any studies to look at the cost of maintaining RPA long term, or can we take existing employees that we have and train them to do aspects of this so that because we already have our FTEs, and in some cases we already have contracts for several years out.
Right.
Can we take what we have today and shift those costs to the people we already have working?
Right. Yeah. So good question. So RPA lets you shift to higher value, but actually shifting someone to RPA can be shifting them to higher value work. And it's not, getting back to your question about, we used private sector, but we also developed internal capability. And so when you think about the folks that you want to put on RPA development, you're identifying individuals in your organization that you think have that aptitude or capability. So you're not necessarily looking for someone whose job is eliminated. You're looking for someone that can be a leader and make things happen and has some aptitude in this area. So, the stats for us are a dozen people did this part-time, and I think we have 6 that are now converted to full-time, and this is what they do. And they're excited about that, but it happened because we let them get in, we trained them, they actually got to develop some bots, and it has now become a full-time job.
So was that part of the plan, or just after?
That was, well, that was definitely part of the plan. I mean, we, when we decided we wanted to go do this, that probably happened 2 or 3 months in. But we knew that in 4 months, they would not be able to produce anything, but the goal, it was always part of the plan to do that. But when I talk about evolving structures, what you want to do, you sort of learn and learn from things that go well, and you learn from things that maybe don't go as well, and adjust. But our goal was to go get this happen. It was part of the plan, and because we have had 6 of those individuals convert, I would say it's been successful, right? Okay, good. All right, well, thank you very much.